You know that feeling, that knot in your stomach when you think about learning something really big, the whole new language, or even just trying to seriously upgrade your vocabulary. You want to sound smart, right? Be well-informed, have the right word ready. But then you see the mountain of stuff to learn, huge lists, thick books, and it just feels overwhelming.
Yeah, like drinking from fire hose, it's a common feeling. Totally paralyzing sometimes.
Exactly. Well, today we're doing a deep dive into something that might just be a shortcut through that feeling, specifically for language. We got our hands on this really interesting resource, a full 30-day English vocabulary builder plan. One of you actually shared it with us. And the question wasn't just what words are in it, but more like, how does this method actually work? Why is it structured this way? And that's what got us really curious.
Absolutely. And that's our mission today. We're not just going to list words, though we'll definitely pull out some examples because they show the thinking behind it. Our main goal is to really dissect how this plan is designed to actually work. Why 30 days? Why the daily structure? What learning principles is it using to make learning vocabulary feel, well, doable instead of daunting?
Right.
We're pulling this from the excerpts from 30-Day English Vocabulary Builder Plan document itself. It maps things out very clearly, but for you listening, think bigger than just English. This is about seeing a blueprint, maybe, for tackling any big learning project, a new skill, a complex subject, anything.
A system for learning.
Exactly. How to break down something huge into steps you can actually take.
Okay, so let's kick things off with maybe the most obvious thing.
Yeah.
It's a 30-day plan. Just hearing that 30 days, it immediately sounds manageable, doesn't it?
It really does. It's not infinite. It gives you a clear start and a clear finish line. Psychologically, that's huge. It feels like a sprint you can actually complete.
You know, not this endless marathon. And then there's the 10 new words daily rule. 10 words. It sounds so specific.
It's a classic strategy, really. Breaking down a potentially massive goal like learn lots of vocabulary into these tiny, daily, achievable chunks. 10 words feels possible even on a busy day.
You feel like you can tick that box each day. A little win.
Exactly. It builds momentum.
Right.
But here's where I think it gets really interesting, and you touched on this earlier. It's not just any 10 words pulled from a hat.
Right. The plan says they're learned within a unique theme or context each day.
And that theme or context idea, that's not just for neatness. It's absolutely crucial for how our brains actually learn and remember things. Think about it. We almost never use words in isolation, do we? They're part of sentences, conversations about specific topics. So learning words grouped by a theme, like food and taste one day, or maybe emotions another day, gives them immediate relevance. Your brain starts making connections naturally.
Okay, so like learning delicious, spicy, and sour together links them all under food.
Precisely. It builds what we call semantic networks, little neighborhoods for words in your brain. It makes them much easier to find and use later because they're not just floating randomly. They're anchored to a concept you understand.
So it fights that feeling I used to get trying to learn from, like, a dictionary list. Each word felt totally separate, impossible to connect or actually use.
Yes, that's the exact pitfall this avoids. Memorizing isolated words is often inefficient. You might recognize the word later, but using it correctly in conversation, that's much harder. Take a word like bitter. If you just learn the definition, fine. But if you learn it under food and taste, you think of coffee, maybe dark chocolate. Then maybe later you see it under emotions, like bitter disappointment.
Ah, so the theme shows you the different ways a word can actually be used. It's different flavors almost.
Exactly. It moves you from just rote memorization, just knowing the definition, towards a functional understanding. How does this word actually work in the real world? That's the goal. Building connections, not just collecting items.
That makes a lot more sense. And the plan is also very specific about what you learn for each word. It lists pronunciation, meaning, and example usage. That feels quite comprehensive for each single word.
It's what I call the trifecta of really mastering a word. And specifying all three is, I think, incredibly smart. Let's break it down. Pronunciation. Obvious, maybe, but critical. If you can't say the word confidently, are you really going to use it when speaking? Probably not. Stays passive knowledge.
Right. You might recognize it written down, but you stumble trying to say it. Been there.
We all have. Then, meaning, Okay, that's the core definition. You have to know what it signifies. But the real kicker, the game changer, is the third part, example usage.
Why is that so important?
Because an example shows the word in action. It clarifies its grammar. Is it a verb, an adjective? It shows you common pairings, like we say heavy rain, not usually strong rain, collocations.
Okay.
And it reveals nuance, tone, context. Is this a formal word? Casual. Does it have a positive or negative feel? The definition alone often doesn't tell you all that.
So, like, knowing ubiquitous means found everywhere is one thing. But seeing smartphones become ubiquitous shows you how it's used describing a thing that's everywhere. An example makes it concrete.
Precisely. Without good examples, you might know the definition but use the word awkwardly. Or in the wrong situation. You might sound unnatural. This three-part approach, pronunciation, meaning, and usage, aims for true fluency. Not just ticking boxes on a test, but actually being able to communicate effectively.
So for you, the learner, you're not just collecting words like stamps. You're getting communication tools ready to use.
That's the idea. Tools with instructions included.
Okay, this is where we can really see the plan's design in action. Let's dive into the actual day-by-day, week-by-week structure. Because it's not random at all, is it?
Not at all. It's very deliberately progressive. It starts foundational and builds outwards in layers of complexity, like building a house. You start with the foundation and frame before you get to the roof and decorations.
A linguistic ascent, as the outline called it. I like that. So let's start at the bottom. Week one themes, introductions, food and taste, daily routine, home and furniture, weather words, emotions. What's fascinating here is, well, these are words you need immediately for basic living.
Absolutely. This is incredibly smart design. Start with high-frequency, highly relevant words related to your immediate personal world. Think about the sample words. Curious, friendly, polite, essential for meeting people. Delicious, spicy, sour, talking about a basic need. Food, wake up, brush, shower, your literal daily actions.
Yeah, sofa, fridge, stove, things you see every day. Sunny, cloudy, humid, universal conversation starter. Happy, sad, angry, basic feelings.
These are survival words in a way. They allow for basic self-expression and understanding of your environment from day one.
And that must be hugely motivating, right? You learn a word in the morning, and you can potentially use it that same afternoon. Instant application.
It provides those crucial quick wins. It shows you immediately, hey, this is useful, this is working. That feeling is vital for keeping you going, especially in the early stages when things can feel tough. It answers that, why am I doing this question right away?
And then, day 7 isn't more new words. It's a review day. Recap the 60 words from the week with a mini quiz or examples. Why pause the new learning?
The crucial role of review. This immediate reinforcement is based on solid cognitive science about memory. If you just keep piling on new information without revisiting it, a lot of it just falls out.
Use it or lose it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
This review day is designed to interrupt that forgetting curve. By recalling and using the words again shortly after learning them, you strengthen the memory trace. You're signaling to your brain, hold on to this stuff, it's important. It starts moving those words from fragile short-term memory into more stable long-term storage. Spaced repetition is key, and this plan builds it in right from the start. It's not an afterthought, it's part of the structure.
Okay, so week 1 grounds you. Then week 2, this looks like it starts moving you outwards. Themes: shopping, jobs and workplaces, school, university, health and illness, travel, communication and devices.
Yeah, here's where it gets really interesting. You're stepping beyond your personal bubble home feelings into common social and functional situations.
Things you do out in the world.
Exactly. These themes cover scenarios where you need to interact with others, get things done, navigate systems. Think about it. Cashier, discount receipt for shopping. Employee, manager, interview for work contexts.
Subject, homework, exam for education. Fever, cough, doctor. Really crucial if I get sick, especially traveling.
Ticket, passport, hotel for travel itself, and phone, text, message app for basic modern communication. These are the words you need for practical engagement with society. This is where your language skills start becoming truly functional for navigating everyday life beyond just describing your breakfast. It's about operating effectively in the community.
You're equipping yourself for real-world tasks.
Precisely. Building functional independence through language.
And day 14's review changes things up again. Now it's use vocabulary from day 813 in mini dialogues or Q&A quiz. Why the shift to dialogues?
It's another step up in application. A simple quiz might just test or recall, can you match the word to the definition? But mini dialogues or Q&A force you into active production in a conversational context.
Like actually using the words in sentences.
Yes, and often in response to a prompt or question simulating a real back and forth. You might have to formulate a question using a new word or answer a question naturally incorporating it. It bridges the gap between knowing a word and being able to weave it into fluent speech. It's preparing you much more directly for actual conversations, moving from passive recognition towards active, spontaneous use.
All right, week 3. Themes, personality traits, appearance and looks, describing places, feelings and reactions, hobbies and free time, entertainment.
So what does this all mean? This feels richer, more descriptive.
That's a great way to put it. This week is heavily focused on adding color, depth, and nuance to your language. You've got the basic framework. Now you're learning to paint with more detailed strokes. Moving beyond just facts.
Exactly. Look at the types of words. Lots of adjectives and more subtle nouns and verbs. Brave, generous, selfish, describing people's character, not just actions. Tall, slim, handsome. More specific appearance words. Crowded, quiet, clean, describing the atmosphere or state of places. Embarrassed, amazed, frustrated, getting into more complex emotional states than just happy, sad, angry.
And hobbies like painting, reading, gardening, or entertainment words like concert, movie, actor.
Right. Why is this vital? Because it allows you to express more complex thoughts, opinions, observations. You can move beyond saying the city was big to the city was bustling and vibrant, but also incredibly crowded during rush hour.
Okay. It lets you be much more precise and expressive.
It elevates your communication significantly. You can share your perspective, your feelings, your observations with much greater detail and accuracy. You start sounding less like a beginner stating facts and more like someone sharing experiences.
And day 21's review reflects this jump. Right. Practice using adjectives in spoken examples and storytelling style. Storytelling. That sounds challenging.
It is, and deliberately so. This is a higher-level cognitive task than just using a word in a sentence or a simple dialogue. Storytelling requires integration. You have to select appropriate descriptive words, weave them together coherently, maybe build a little narrative arc. It forces you to think about how these words function together to create an overall effect or picture.
Like, tell me about a memorable meal using delicious, aromatic, and cozy.
Exactly. That kind of active, creative application does wonders for retention because you're building much stronger, more personal connections with the words. And it's fantastic practice for fluency, forcing you to access and combine vocabulary more spontaneously. It's moving towards truly thinking in the language.
Okay, week 4. Let's unpack this. We've got technology, business and money, travel abroad, emergency words, describing situations, and then expressions and phrases. This feels like it's pushing into more specialized areas and maybe trickier stuff like idioms.
You've nailed it. This week tackles vocabulary that might be more specific to certain contexts or more abstract or, yes, culturally embedded like idioms. Why now? Because by week 4, the learner has hopefully built a solid foundation. They're ready for more complexity, more nuance, the kind of language needed for more specific discussions or understanding native-like speech.
So words like internet, software, website for tech, or income, expense, profit for business, these are quite domain-specific.
And visa, embassy, customs for the practicalities of international travel, fire, accident, emergency, crucial words for critical situations where clear communication is vital.
And possible, likely urgent for describing situations, but then the expressions break the ice, on time, piece of cake. Those are different.
They are. Idioms and set phrases are often challenging because their meaning isn't literal. You can't figure out break the ice just by knowing break and ice.
Right, it's a cultural shortcut almost.
Yeah, it is. But learning them is essential for sounding natural and understanding informal conversation. They add color and efficiency to communication. Mastering some common ones is a big step towards higher fluency and cultural understanding.
And day 28's review. Combine advanced words into real-world stories. Dialogue practice. Again, pushing the application.
Yes, the final step before the big consolidation. This review encourages synthesizing everything, the specialized vocabulary, the idioms, the descriptive words, into realistic, complex scenarios. Maybe telling a story about a tech issue using specific terms, or role-playing a business negotiation, or discussing travel plans using relevant phrases and describing your feelings about it. It's about demonstrating that you can pull from this now much wider vocabulary range and use it appropriately and flexibly in simulated real-world contexts, preparing you for the unpredictable nature of actual conversation.
Okay, so after 4 weeks of building, we hit the final stretch. Week 5. Day 29 is the vocabulary mega review, and day 30 is the practical usage challenge. So what does this all mean? It's not about new words anymore.
Exactly. This final week is all about consolidation and proving mastery. It's the capstone, ensuring everything learned actually sticks and can be used.
Why is this kind of wrap-up so important?
Because learning isn't truly complete until you can actively use the knowledge. The mega review on day 29 pulls maybe 100 words from across all the previous weeks. It forces broad recall, checking if the knowledge has been retained across different themes and complexities. It's a final check on retention. But day 30, the practical usage challenge, is where the real proof lies. Asking you to write a paragraph, a story, or a conversation using 10-20 words you've learned, that shifts the focus entirely.
From recognizing words to actually producing them yourself.
Precisely. It moves you from passive recognition, oh yeah, I know that word, to active production. I can choose this word and use it correctly in my own sentence to express my own idea.
Making the language your own.
That's the essence of it. This challenge requires you to access your newly expanded vocabulary, select appropriate words, and integrate them meaningfully into your own creation. It's the ultimate demonstration of functional mastery. It shows you haven't just memorized definitions, you've acquired tools you can wield confidently.
Stepping back a bit, this 30-day plan, it really is more than just a word list, isn't it? As we've unpacked it, it feels like a whole course in how to learn effectively.
It really does. It embodies some incredibly powerful learning principles.
So what are the big takeaways here? The lessons about how to learn that we could apply anywhere, not just vocabulary.
Well, several key things stand out. First, and maybe most obviously, the power of consistency.
The daily 10 words.
Exactly. That daily focus, even on a small amount, creates massive results over time. It fights procrastination. 10 words feels doable. And crucially, it builds a habit.
Like exercise, consistency beats occasional heroic efforts.
Absolutely. Small, regular deposits yield compound interest, intellectually speaking. It's far more effective than cramming sporadically. It builds discipline and momentum. Second, the importance of structured review. Those dedicated review days aren't optional extras, they are fundamental.
We talked about spaced repetition.
Right. It's not just about adding new stuff. It's about actively retrieving and reinforcing what you've already learned. The plan builds this in systematically, using different methods, quizzes, dialogue, storytelling. And this raises that key question for all of us. How often do we try to learn something new but forget to schedule regular, varied review? We just consume.
Guilty as charged. We assume it'll just stick.
But our brains need that active recall practice to really lock things in. This plan models that perfectly. Don't just learn, review, retrieve, reinforce.
Okay, consistency and review. What else?
The clear progression from passive to active learning. Look at the journey. Start with definitions and examples, mostly passive. Move to dialogues, semi-active. End with storytelling and the final challenge, fully active production.
It gradually increases the demand.
Yes, it systematically moves you from just receiving information to actively using it, manipulating it, creating with it. That transition is essential for true mastery in any skill. You have to go from understanding to doing. And finally, I think a really crucial element is how it combats information overload.
That feeling of being overwhelmed we mentioned at the start.
Exactly. The themed approach, the strict limit of 10 words a day, the clear structure, it all works together to make the process feel manageable, not terrifying. Information overload is a huge barrier to learning. It causes anxiety, kills motivation. This plan is designed to prevent that. It breaks the mountain down into walkable steps. It provides a clear path, reducing cognitive load and making the journey feel achievable. That's smart instructional design.
And it doesn't stop with just the daily plan. There are also these suggested extras mentioned, things like PDF downloads, an audio version, worksheets, even word-of-the-day shorts. That seems pretty comprehensive.
It is, and it shows an understanding that people learn in different ways and that reinforcement can happen through multiple channels. These aren't just fluff, they actively support the core learning.
How so? Let's break them down. PDFs and worksheets.
Great for visual learners seeing the lists clearly laid out, and for tactile learners, the physical act of writing on a worksheet, filling in blanks, really helps solidify knowledge. Worksheets encourage active recall, making you pull the information out of your brain, not just read it again.
Okay, makes sense. What about the audio-only podcast version?
Perfect for auditory learners, obviously, but also fantastic for portability. Learn during your commute, while exercising, doing chores. It allows for more exposure time. And crucially, it models pronunciation. Hearing the words spoken correctly is vital for confidence.
Getting the sound right.
And those word-of-the-day shorts, like for YouTube or Instagram, that's smart microlearning. Short, frequent bursts of exposure. It keeps the vocabulary top of mind, reinforcing it in small doses, even on days you might not do the main lesson. It uses the power of platforms people are already on.
Little reminders popping up.
Exactly. So the implication is clear. A really robust learning system caters to different styles and provides multiple touch points for reinforcement. It builds an ecosystem around the core content. #tag outro.
Wow. Okay. So we started with what looked like a fairly simple 30-day vocabulary plan. But digging into it, it's revealed this really quite sophisticated and, well, effective approach to learning. It really shows how structure, consistency, themes, and that progression from passive to active can make a huge difference.
It truly does. It turns a potentially huge, scary task into a structured, achievable journey. And as we wrap up, let's bring it back to you, listening. This deep dive hopefully wasn't just about learning English words. What can this whole system, the daily chunks, the themes, the consistent review, the active application, teach you about tackling something else you want to master?
Yeah. Could you apply this to learning, say, a musical instrument or a complex topic at work, or even just building a new habit?
Think about it. How could you break down your big goal into daily, manageable pieces? How could you group related ideas or skills into themes? How could you build in regular, active review and practice? What's the one thing about this plan's structure or philosophy that really stands out to you? Something you could maybe try applying somewhere else in your life starting tomorrow? That's the provocative thought to leave you with.